На здоровье.
На здоровье.
Well, you might be wondering why we're drinking Swedish vodka. That's the same question we asked when we saw this movie about Russian gangsters when they were drinking it. But anyway,
Hello and welcome to Random Movie Time. Today's film is Payback, written and directed by Joseph Mensch. This is Joseph Mensch's first film, feature-length film that he's directed. He's produced many things in the past, and he's directed a short film as well. This was released in 2022. It stars Matt Levett, Tony Leonard Moore, Anna Baryshnikov, and Elena Satine, who you might remember the most recent live-action Cowboy Bebop adaptation. The movie centers around a young man with a family with a Ukrainian background. He has a pregnant wife, and he works as a stockbroker in a corrupt investment company in 1992. He gets involved in some nefarious dealings with the Russian mafia, and as a result, he gets framed for a murder he didn't commit. He is sent to prison for 6 years, and when he gets out, he wants to exact revenge for the killing of his family by the Russian mafia and for being framed for a murder he didn't commit. So, Tommy, what are your thoughts?
well, I didn't think this was a great movie.
This is rubbish!
I will say, though, that when we saw the trailer for it, the trailer made it look much worse. I don't know if they were having trouble editing the trailer or they used rough cuts, or I don't know, just the lighting seemed bad, the acting seemed bad. It seemed like this movie was going to be completely miscast. But actually watching the movie, it wasn't bad. It's not a great movie by any stretch of the imagination. It's kind of a lot of cliches, but definitely one of those direct-to-video movies, that are a dime a dozen. But it was filmed with some competence. Apparently the director had already worked with, who did he work with? With Martin Scorsese or somebody like that? As a
I believe so.
Assistant cameraman. I don't know. But he obviously had some technical skill. And the movie wasn't too bad. The acting wasn't too bad either. It was completely different from how it looked in the trailer somehow. But the story was reasonably gripping. I kind of got into it. I kind of got invested in the characters, but as I say, it was kind of a cliched mobster story. Apparently it's a true story though, so that's something. But I wouldn't really recommend it just because, there's so many better movies in this genre that you could pick from, Goodfellas comes to mind, But really, I think the sort of mobster genre has kind of fizzled out at this point. I don't know. But it's just an okay movie. Definitely not great. It's not a bad movie. You're not going to hate yourself for having watched it, but there's probably other things you could watch that would be more entertaining. What about you, Shannon? What did you think about this movie?
Well, it wasn't bad. There were some problems with it. One thing I really liked about it, though, was his Joseph Mensch's direction. He was really going for a retro vibe, That came through in the camera work, definitely. And of course the feel of the movie and the costumes and everything like that. But the editing was sloppy. It was, there were times, for example, there were a couple times where a couple of characters would be having a dialogue and it would start to fade to black, but it would stay in between for some reason. So that was a bit odd. And then you're sitting there wondering what's going on. Why is it so dark? And, they're still talking. So that was one example of how sloppy it was. Another point that we made at the intro actually was, they were supposed to be in the Russian mafia. Some were Ukrainian, some were Georgian, but, it was kind of like the Russian mafia kind of thing. And at one point in the movie down the line, one of the mob bosses is meeting the main character at a cabaret, and he doesn't order Russian vodka, and the mob boss is like, "What's wrong with the motherland vodka? What, have you gone off it?" But in previous scenes, they're drinking Swedish vodka. So, that was kind of funny. I didn't get that. Overall, this movie kind of reminded me of a poor substitute for a mix between Eastern Promises with Viggo Mortensen, The Sopranos, and Grand Theft Auto for the video game. There was that cabaret in that scene, I swear, was pulled right from GTA 4. I kid you not.
Time for some classy American entertainment.
The acting wasn't bad. It was, it wasn't remarkable. But it wasn't bad, so that's something. And the movie wasn't remarkable overall. Like I say, sloppy editing, and even though it did come across as that had that retro vibe to it, it's, like Tommy said, other movies have done it better. And there was even though it was based on true story, that's interesting, but there was no reason to tell that story in my mind. We've heard it 10 times or more.
Overdone. And
it was just chock full of stereotypes. I'm not Russian or Ukrainian or anything, so I don't know if that's really how the Russian mob works. But it was really just a big stereotype. Like when you're playing Grand Theft Auto 4, it's like a caricature, Yeah. The revenge for the killing of the family thing it's been done to death, so I don't know if I would recommend it. Maybe if you're drunk, maybe put it on at a party. I don't know. But it's really not worth my time. It wasn't worth my time. That's how I felt anyway. So that's my take. Anything else to add?
Not really. Not a lot of substance to this one, unfortunately. Yeah. You might want to have a few glasses of this if you're watching this movie.
Okay, well, I guess that's all we have to say on this lukewarm vodka movie.
How many bottles of vodka would you give it?
Hey, that's my line.
Oh.
How many bottles of vodka would you give it, Tommy?
2. Yeah, I can't recommend it. It's okay if you do happen to see it, but yeah, don't go out of your way.
Okay. I'll be generous, and I will also give it 2 bottles of vodka out of 5. It's not something I would recommend, but if you have nothing else to do and you're kind of stuck at home on a rainy day, why not? If it comes across your screen, give it a go. So, I guess that's all we have to say. Until next time.
On
Random movie time.